All right, fellas. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, August 9th, 2011. Let's take a quick look at something we call TRIPS formation and quad formation recognition, and how we can communicate that to each other. Let's take a look. TRIPS, of course, is an offensive formation with three receivers one side of the football. On the other side, away from the ball, you could have one or two receivers who might be eligible. It can be run from the shotgun or from under center, and can also be a passing or running formation. Important to notice is that we're always going to identify from a defensive perspective, meaning as we look at the offensive set, we'll talk about left and right in terms of what we see from the defensive side of the ball. Quads, of course, is a little bit different. Quads means we have four eligible receivers one side, can be part of an unbalanced set, as it often is, and again, can be pass or run. Before we get started, let's take a look and see what the high school states about who is eligible and who is ineligible. There must be 7 players on the line of scrimmage in high school, and also 5 must have ineligible numbers. Meaning 5 players in the field must have jerseys that have numbers between 50 and 79. And for a player to be eligible in high school, he must have both an eligible number, which is either 1 to 49 or 80 to 99, and be in an eligible position, such as at the end of the line of scrimmage or in the backfield. Take a look at this, which is important because there is no such thing in high school as a player reporting in with an ineligible number and reporting as an eligible receiver. That does not happen in high school. Also, as we're going to see from time to time, the quarterback can be an eligible receiver, and we have to make some accommodations for him too. Remember how we number our eligible receivers, always do from outside in. So if we look at this, here's our defense on this side of the ball looking at the football. The wide receiver to the left is number 1, he's number 2. Here's number 1, he's number 2, and then number 3 would be this guy right here. In another set, we can number from, again, right to left. In this case, he's number 1 on the right, number 2 on the right, number 3 on the right. This is really a number 4 because he's on this side of the football and only a number 1 back to this side. Probably wouldn't quite consider this quads because he's inside the tackle box. More likely, we would call this a trip set with 3 eligible receivers here, 1 in the backfield and 1 split. And again, you see the numbering repeated: 1, 2, he's 3, he's 1, he's 2. So we always number from outside in: 1, 2, and 3, and again 1, 2 over here. This is an empty set. We call this empty because there are no running backs in the backfield. Notice that all 5 of the eligible receivers now are outside the tackle box, and the backfield is empty here, with the exception of the quarterback. Again, numbering again, as we see again, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, again another empty set. Again, different variations as you see here of empty. Now here's a single back set, and we would call this 2 by 2 because here you see there's 2 receivers on this side, there's 2 on this side. So as we look at it from the defensive side of the football, 2 by 2 would tell us that we have 2 eligible receivers to the left and 2 eligible receivers to the right. So a 2 by 2 set is what we would see in this case. Over here, this is kind of a funky kind of stack set. This is really 3 by 2 and empty. So we have 3 receivers over here. We have 2 over here. And again, the backfield is empty with the exception of the quarterback. An unlikely formation, but not impossible. And again, you see the numbering continue: number 1, number 2, number 1, number 2, and then number 3 is in the middle. And again, many variations of it. So I think this is self-explanatory. We won't see all these variations. Occasionally we'll see a situation like this where we're playing man defense, and he's number 1 and he's number 1. He obviously is number 2. Question is, what do we do with these 2 who are stacking to the eye? So what we're going to do is we're going to have to get a post-snap read on them. If the fullback came this way, he'd be number 2. If the tailback went that way, he'd be number 3. So this identification of this, who we probably call a tailback, and this who we identify as a fullback, will come after the snap. It's a post-snap read. Here we see a situation again where we have number 1, number 2, number 1. Here we have the fullback and tailback again, pre-snap unidentified. If they both go this way, he becomes number 3, and he would become number 4, something we might see. And again, different examples of what can happen as we try to number eligible receivers when we're playing a man situation. Here they both go the same way, so he's number 1, he's number 2, and he's number 3. Splitting the eye in this case, one goes one way, one goes the other, and they assume that next number. And with motion, of course, this changes things a little bit. If he goes in motion, now he's number 1, he's number 2, and he's number 3. Again, if he comes across in motion from here this way, then this changes the perspective that we have. This is pre-snap movement. So he's number 1. He was number 1, but now he becomes number 2 when he goes wide. And the widest receiver here is number 1. He was the widest at number 1, but now he's number 2. And again, we have different examples there. Now, here's how we're going to identify trips, and this is an important thing that we want you to understand. So let's talk right now and see if we can figure this out. Trips will be identified as trips right or trips left. and it'll be followed by a number indicating what numbered receiver is on the line of scrimmage, here out identified as the LOS. Also, we'll use the term tight or split to indicate what happens with the usual single receiver away from the trips. If they line up an empty, which again we showed a few examples of a moment ago, we can say it's 3 by 2 or 2 by 3. This is a situation in which all 5 eligible receivers are out of the backfield. A receiver away from the trips who is on the line of scrimmage will also be identified by number. So take a minute to look at this information on this page. And now let's look at some examples as to how we're going to do this. See, here's a picture of an offensive set. This is 2 by 2. Here's the number 1 receiver. Here's a number 2 receiver. This guy almost off the screen is number 1. He's number 2. And then here's a back in the backfield. So this is 2 by 2. This is not a trips look. This we call 2 by 2 with a single back, meaning we have one back in the backfield, and then here's the quarterback. Here's trips left, 3 split. Now we say it's trips left 3 split because he's number 1, he's number 2, he's number 3, but he's on the line of scrimmage. So we identify, in this case where we have trips left, as the who is on the line of scrimmage. He's on the line of scrimmage, he's in the tight end position, so to speak. And so we'd say this is trips left because there are 3 receivers here, and it's trips left 3 because the 3rd receiver in is on the line of scrimmage, and we'd say split because this man, instead of being lined up as a tight end, now is split away from the ball. So that's a trips left 3 split. Think about that as you look back at the previous page where we talked about how we identified. This identification allows us to say that this is a trips left 3 with a split. Let's take a look at another example. Here's trips left 2 split. Well, it's trips left because if we look at the offense from the defensive perspective, again, he's 1, he's 2, he's 3, and we say it's trips left 2 because, see, here's the number 2 receiver. He's on the line of scrimmage. So this is trips left 2, and again, split because he's split out. This is also single back shotgun, where here's the quarterback, and this is the single back in the backfield. There's also a formation called pistol, which we may see from time to time. Pistol is similar to a shotgun formation, except we're going to identify it as pistol when the quarterback is in the shotgun and the back is behind him. It's a pistol formation, similar to shotgun, but a little bit different. Quarterback usually is not as deep, and the halfback or running back is being lined up behind him. So know that if we identify pistol, this is the type of formation we're looking at. Take a look at this graphic. Here's trips right 13. Trips right 13. Here we are on this side of the ball, and trips right 13, unbalanced pistol. Well, it's trips right because here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 1, and here's a single back. 2 if he comes this way, and 4 if he went the other way. But looking at the formation, it's unbalanced because he appears to be on the line of scrimmage. Number 1 is on the line of scrimmage, and if a man on the line of scrimmage has another man who is inside, on his side of the football, who's also in the line of scrimmage, as we see here with number 3, then number 3 is ineligible. This man cannot catch a pass downfield. He might have an eligible receiver number, or he might have a tackles number. This illustration doesn't really illustrate that, but he becomes an ineligible receiver when he's covered up on the outside. So if we say covered up, referring to a receiver, we mean in this case that this particular receiver, if you look to his left, is another man on the line of scrimmage. You cannot have 2 men on the line of scrimmage on the same side of the ball who are eligible receivers. So he is eligible, he is ineligible, and it's unbalanced to the defensive right, because if you look over here, there's only 1 and 2, not eligible receivers, but there's only 2 players to the left of the football on the line of scrimmage. And this could be an eligible receiver if he had an eligible receiver number. He does not, so if he's number 61, he cannot catch a pass. So unbalance is something we will see during the year and something we need to think about. Take a minute and look at the slide and see why this is trips right. Again, we're on this side of the football looking at the offense. It's trips right 13, unbalanced pistol. It's 13 because 1 and 3 are on the ball. It's unbalanced because on this side of the football, there's only 2 guys on the line of scrimmage. And it's also pistol because this is the quarterback and this is the running back. So that's the pistol approach there. Here's another couple examples of pistol formations you might see, and we might see some of that later. Here's another example of pistol. Here's the quarterback in the gun. Here's a back. Here's another running back or receiver, and then they have a little slot working over here also. 2 by 2 pistol. Here's the quarterback, Cam Newton, I believe, in the pistol. And it's 2 by 2 because there's 2 receivers here, and there's 2 receivers here. This is a little fuzzy, whether he's inside the box or outside the box. We could consider this two back or single back, probably would consider it single back with him as a potential threat, and we'd call it 2x2. Another formation we're going to look at is something called bunch, and let's wrap it up on this slide talking about bunch. Guys, bunch is three receivers closely packed. So if you look at this particular formation, you can see that this would be bunch right, because again, from the defensive formation, looking at this is bunch to the right-hand side. And this is number one, this is number two, and this is number three. And you see how they're in kind of this close formation. Fairly close to the ball, though it could be split bunch. This is a tight bunch formation here, with three eligible receivers ready to play some games. And this is a formation we will identify as bunch. It's shotgun, single back, and tight, because this is the other eligible receiver, and he's in a tight end position. Although as you look at his number, it looks like he's almost a lineman and possibly ineligible, and maybe this is unbalanced. So we'd have to have a better idea of numbers. But again, keep in mind, to be an eligible receiver in high school, you've got to have a number between 149 and 80 and 99. So we talked a little bit about trips, we talked a little bit about pistol, and again, this formation right here, which we identify as bunch, and we'll continue with part two in just another minute.